Hi, welcome to the Agent Odyssey. I'm Matt Wyman, co-founder and CEO of Vicario. Vicario provides simulation for voice, chat, and headless agents so you can find problems before they go to production. And once they do go to production, you can monitor and build new simulations to stabilize your agents. Today, I have joining me Pravena Dhanalakota. I'm really excited to have Pravena here. She's founder and CEO of Supra, and she has a huge history in with experience across fintech, autonomous driving, and enterprise consulting. She's spent more than a decade helping organizations build real AI products, and today she's doing something really different and new at the company Supra. Pravena, welcome. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Supra.
Matt, thanks for having me today. I'm super excited about our conversation. At Supra, what we are doing is we are providing a platform for experts to create their AI persona. Some call it AI persona, some call it digital twin. It is a reflection of yourself where you could build your persona with your digital content that you own, control, and can monetize it. Currently on our platform, we have seen people using, like professors use it for office hours, where students can interact with their AI persona to talk about their courses related questions or any class related questions or any office hours. Authors related to book questions, thought leaders related to their expertise. So super excited to build this platform because we are seeing that this is a new form of expert economy where users can create their AI persona and use it for making their expertise accessible across, even if they are not available in person.
I was really excited to have you join us because I think this is just such an interesting topic. When you're actually building a product for people to use where the currency is themselves, it raises a whole series of questions. And you even mentioned monetization. So we'll get to that definitely. But first, I'd love to how do people respond when they're first thinking about, okay, I'm the currency here. I'm putting myself out. What are the first set of concerns and questions that people have when getting ready to do that?
First of all, building this product, when we say AI persona, it is a new thing, right? So people really don't understand what AI persona mean, whether it is themselves or is it everything out, right? So it is about themselves. First of all, there is a customer need to be knowledge trained. They need to be coached about what this product is first. That is one of the challenge we initially encountered because it's a new form of product. So once we kind of provide that knowledge about the product, they understand it. The main question that we get often is, I'm putting all my persona out there. What happens if it says something that I don't want it to say? Who is responsible for it? Are you responsible for it or am I responsible for it? Right? But in the age of AI, there is some kind of forgiveness that everybody should be accepting it because this is the future. Today, we have AI teachers. They are teaching courses. Today, we have AI salesperson. They are guiding customers. But there is certain amount of forgiveness. But what does that forgiveness looks like? It is all dependent upon how you train your AI persona, how much you
Hmm.
guide your AI persona, how much you are coaching it, right? It is not like, okay, I have created my AI persona, you go now, answer the question. No, right? You have to continuously, human in the loop becomes super important in here, right? You
Ah,
have to monitor your AI persona, right? When you train it, you test for yourself. Let me test it before I put it in public. So we give all those tools as a tool set for these experts to test their AI persona before they publish their persona to the users to interact with. That becomes important because they can test on various questions before even it goes to the public. So those kind of human in the loop, let's say I train my persona with all my digital content. Then I ask a question and it gives me wrong answer, then I can kind of tell my AI persona saying like, hey, that's not how I answer. Then I can real time train it, right? So then it becomes like more coachable, coaching it in real time. Then it learns it. And then when it learns it, next time similar question comes, it answers it because that data may not exist in the documents or content, or it may not have learned it. So that's how we have designed our product so that human in the loop is always there to reduce this errors of giving the responses that you don't expect. that your AI persona to give. So that's where the confidence comes slowly.
I was going to ask, so there's an authenticity question there, right?
Yes.
Is that how authentic to me is this persona versus the persona reflecting what I would like to be? And then I think and people wear different. I mean, I'll use the word persona again, but you wear different hats in different circumstances. You're almost a different facet of yourself in different environments, whether you're with family or you're at work. And so I have to imagine as people are engaging, they need to be very clear on the identity that they're creating in this digital persona and the purpose they're building this digital persona for. How do you help coach those boundaries?
Excellent question. So we all have personalities, right? Our personality that we develop is a base personality that we develop through our experiences, our family, with people around it. But our personality trait changes based on people we interact with. Like whether we are in a professional setting, whether we are in a personal setting, that's where the trait changes. We haven't Supra is not there yet, but we are trying to go to that state where we wanted to understand environmental factors eventually, where this persona can understand whom I'm talking to. Can
Mm.
the AI persona understand the user itself? Today I'm talking to Matt. Have I talked to Matt before? Do I know Matt? Do I know Matt as a professional connection or Matt as a friend, right? So can I in the AI persona get user context, more of a user context? How many times I have talked to Matt? How many times and what kind of settings I have talked to? So we call it as environmental factors, whether it is a professional setting, whether it is a personal setting. So those kind of things so that we can simulate similar kind of persona traits of a individual, how they behave in the real life. So that's where we wanted to go with Supra, where it is truly reflective of an individual. As in real life, where your personality trait changes, your AI persona trait need to change based on who it is interacting with. That's where we wanted to go that far eventually in the future.
And it's learning as it's having conversations. So
Yes.
that would imply then that there is this sort of angle where if it gets put in circumstances where it's having a lot of conversations, let's imagine a teacher where it's interacting quite a lot in that teacher student relationship where it's answering questions, then in other circumstances it might start to lecture quite often.
Mhm.
I'm kind of curious, like that identity, and how they guide that identity. If I'm understanding you correctly, part of that is having the person in the loop so they can say yes and no. But
Yes.
do you also are people concerned that these agents will start to get pushed in a particular direction and then used to create clips or statements that can then be used? Like there's a sort of there's almost like a social red teaming component that is exposed here, where you can kind of push someone's persona in a direction that maybe they wouldn't want it to go, and then use that elsewhere negatively. Are you concerned about those kind of loops, and how do you help
Matt,
people control that?
you were breaking a tiny bit. Can you repeat that question again?
Sure, there are circumstances where the persona is learning from the conversations it's having. And as a side effect of learning from those conversations, an external actor can drive your persona in a direction you don't want it to go. And even though you might be in the loop, you're in the loop after the fact. And so I'm kind of curious, let's go back to that original question. How do you frame the ownership if the persona is pushed to give an answer that is uh, not consistent with what the person would want, something that's hostile in some way or just out of character or would be misused or could be misused in some manner? How do you help protect people in those circumstances?
There's with any product, there are certain things. There are people that can take it to the far end, whether it is
Yes.
really bad use case or really good use case, right? There is definitely some kind of misuse can happen, right? But that we are using all kind of guardrails. We are trying all edge cases, putting into the place to define those guardrails to stop it. But it's really difficult to identify that really extreme edge case to see what a one person can do with it, but we are trying to define all those edge cases, defining all those things that can happen with it and putting the guardrails around it so that even if you push it, it is not taking that actions without users permission. Or even, for example, right, even if you push it to give any personal information, even if you tick it, for example, if you go to OpenAI today, if you kind of ask it consistently to do something, it kind of, after a few tries, it'll give
It'll do
you,
it.
it'll do it. But with Supra, what we are doing is we are putting some certain guardrails where it won't do it, right?
Interesting.
So that becomes very important when you are defining a product like Supra, because it is you. We don't want your persona to behave like that unless and until you are like that, right? You kind of are training like that. Like, I'm snappy. I get agitated very quickly. So this is how I train my persona. And your answers or responses are like that. But even then, where is the empathy? How it's gonna act? So it's up to you how you want to train it, but we are putting all the guardrails behind it so that it is not acting based on someone trying to modify its actions, but it is you. If you own your AI persona, you are modifying it, but it is not someone else trying to modify it.
That makes a lot of sense. And I can imagine that to do this effectively, you need to hold a mirror up to the user so that they see how they're behaving in different circumstances, which might surprise them. But I understand this guardrail notion. It makes a lot of sense. I can imagine, however, as you're taking this to market and you're describing it to potential customers, that these are all questions, that these issues of trust and understanding are all going to come up. And not everyone's going to be technical, and not everyone's going to have a deep foundation in AI, even though that this is a tool that they might want to use. And so I'm curious, as you're taking this to market and describing it to customers for the first time, how are you approaching this part of the conversation with them and the teaching that comes with it?
So that's where the ownership and authenticity and the tools that we provided. So this is just the beginning. And also, we kind of, each time we introduce a new feature, we kind of have some kind of workshops where we talk about those particular features. And we are building this product so that a non-tech user can really use the product. We don't want a product where you are really technologically heavy to use the product. We wanted it to be a self-serve platform where it is easy to use and easy to understand it, and you feel confident about your product that you're using, just like putting a password, putting a fingerprint, right? So that once you are building it, you can, oh, this is where I'm able to control it. Oh, this is where it is learning it. Okay, so this is a step where I could see why I can trust Supra, because I'm using my content and nobody else can change it, right? Eventually, we wanted to introduce more security around it without any data leakage between personas. We wanted to allow multiple persona capability for individuals, where even Matt may have multiple AI personas on the platform, where each persona will have different set of securities so that personal Matt is not interacting with professional Matt kind of content. So we wanted to go and make sure that all these are separated. Think of it as individual, siloed, security oriented AI persona where each one has its own. I wanted to say it as like each one is protected in a way that it has multiple security keys where nobody can unlock it, kind of thing. So that,
Sandboxes.
yeah, safe boxes, so that in the future, we wanted to, there's some kind of term that we are using, it is called digital will, where in the future, we can touch on this topic later, but digital will is something that when today you have a will where you write a will for afterwards what happens to your property. But what will happen after you create your AI persona? Who can authorize it? Who can unlock your safe, kind of a thing, your AI persona? So that those kind of safety and precautions we wanted to put in place so that it feels safe, secure, and you can trust Supra. We are not there yet, but all these are thinking into the product, because there is dealing with a persona, individual private data, where they have worked over the years. For example, one of the users on our platform has 30 years worth of data that they have ingested into their AI persona, that they have written over the past 30 years, that they own. That is their own proprietary data, right? But so we have to make sure that that kind of content is that they own it. That is not someone that can use even after they pass away or they keep their AI persona out there.
You're raising a whole series of interesting questions. And I'd love to touch on first, does this mean that there are some ideal sort of persona or ideal customers right now that you're focused on? You mentioned before you're not necessarily focusing on the most technical, but are there people who have a reason for creating this persona that's more ideal than others at this moment in time?
Yeah, there are few ideal customer profiles. Is for example, Adrian Cockcroft, who is one of the user on the platform. He is a well-known industry expert. He worked at Netflix and Amazon, so he uses his persona. He can go look up his profile on the platform. He says like, I want to build my. He calls it as me GPT, but it's on Supra, where he says like my knowledge is out there. I wanted to make sure it is available for everyone because it is something that is so much that is I have built over the based on my experiences that I have learned over the last 20-30 years that I wanted to share, because it's hard to find that experience even in the papers or by learning a course. It's easy to find by asking me, because I have been through these experiences, which is hard to find. So those kind of accessibility to that kind of experience and expertise, you can find in books. You can find
It's
in
wisdom.
is the wisdom. You can find in YouTube. You can find it in Google search. You can find it in OpenAI too, because it is very specific to someone who has went through, experienced the problem, solved that problem, and shown that it is solved in this way, and that knowledge is available through their AI persona. Another persona is, I don't know, have you heard of Sortino ratio? It is one of the risk assessment ratio. So Dr. Sortino, he has built Sortino calculations, where it is a risk assessment for investment. He built his persona because it is a proprietary calculation where people can calculate risk for investments. He is 93 years old, and he says like, my
Mm.
legacy is is there, and nobody can really build this calculator even today, and I wanted to make sure that people makes investment decisions in a way that they are comfortable to make, and my calculator will help them. And he wants to make financial decision making accessible. So those kind of expertise who are very specific, very much based on hard to find knowledge, and those kind of AI personas are available on our platform.
So, so what and maybe push back if I'm getting this wrong, but what I'm hearing is that one of the more immediate use cases that you're targeting is this notion of, I'm going to call it wisdom and legacy.
Mhm.
People who have built up a perspective of the world, they have a corpus of information. Who knows what form it's in? It might be they have to communicate it, but maybe it's written. But they have a perspective, and they want to make that perspective available to other people to learn and to interact with. This is almost teachers or professors outside of the educational formality, right? They're trying to help promote and give this information to the world. And I can imagine a lot of other use cases that follow a similar pattern but are more internal.
Yes.
But when I imagine that, right, a person who's motivated to share, and that's maybe one of the reasons why they look to Supra, then I wonder what happens. You say it's 93. What happens to that persona after they're gone? I mean, the persona's still there. The knowledge is still there. It's still being shared. And I don't expect you've solved all this yet, but I'm just curious how you think about the future ownership and responsibility. And if we imagine, and I'm going to go a little further, that through tools and other mechanisms, that persona has access to maybe things that can interact, send emails, interact via chat, interact, maybe even via voice at some point, maybe even an avatar at some point. I mean, there's a lot to that personality that'll start to take shape. So how are you imagining it gets stewarded over time and into the future? How does that ownership pass along? What
So
parts are
that's a
protected
great
also?
question. Frank Sortino, let's talk about Frank Sortino a little bit. His research associate is authorized his persona to be accessed by his research associate, who is also a financial advisor for many of the clients. So he said that after him, his persona is can be accessed by his research associate, so that he can keep it updated with the information, because they both worked on building his AI persona. So he wrote an email to us that his persona can be accessible, given access to his AI persona to this particular person. But eventually, we wanted to make it as I mentioned, a digital will, where they could really put that, and we will make it more official, so that they can give the ownership, and we provide that. We will handle how you in real life, how we handle the will or something. We wanted to handle that kind of thing on Supra. But today, how we are handling it is by email. Send us an email how you wanted to handle your AI persona, and we will provide access to your AI persona so they can keep it up to date. And we wanted to make sure that, and if you wanted us to keep it up to date, we'll give it current information, we'll give it current news information, we'll give additional information based on your knowledge topics, so that it is learning from the new topics. But we will explicitly mention that this is currently being updated by Supra. We wanted to make sure
Oh,
that
that's
everything is pretty clear and open in our communication on who owns it and who is updating it.
that's fascinating. You're opening the door. I'm projecting, but you're opening the door to the possibility that you can speak to different versions or moments in time
Mhm.
with the persona. Like this is the persona as of 2025, but then a new wave of information came out in 2035 that caused the persona to shift some of its, I'll put in quotes, thinking
Yeah.
perspectives, because it was consistent with the first principles that that persona held. But now there's new information
Yes.
that might have shifted. I mean, we see this, in fact, in the real world, right? And there are all sorts of examples of scientists and others who held one perspective, and then new information comes in and they shift. And it's amazing that you're already dealing with this sort of passing along. Are you seeing families reaching out and trying to use this to hold on to information within the family? Is that one of the common cases?
Yes, but also families is like little more difficult. What we have seen is families are like we don't know like exactly how to handle it right now.
Yeah, it feels like something you'd want to say, like, that's a case we should maybe get
Yes.
a little bit more foundation before we go tackle that. So then in a similar vein, going to the other end of the same spectrum, do you see, is this one of those holes with teachers? And is there some sort of question about who can be on the other side? Let me be more specific. Do you have concerns with supra personas having conversations with children versus with adults? Like, do you have some sort of sense of like, hey, we want to make sure these personas are speaking to people who have the critical thinking facilities to understand they're talking to AI? Have you set some of those boundaries or needed to?
Today we have to be very explicit that they're talking to AI. But tomorrow,
Yeah,
it is given that we will be talking to AI and we will not know. But we all
all the
should
time.
know that we'll be talking to an AI. And tomorrow's world, we will not know which one is AI and which is not. Right. So,
Absolutely.
but the ground foundation should be very explicit that anyone who opens any, not even Supra, I think any product that introduces AI, it should be pretty explicit. I'm pretty much, I wanted to lobby this, that everybody should say, if it is an AI, it should be very explicit. This is an AI. You're talking to an AI, and that should be very bold and very clear over there. And when it comes to children, I think I have kids too, but I think there should be an education from the beginning, because it is the world where we cannot avoid children from keeping them away from AI. The world is moving towards AI. Even kids know open AI. Kids know how to use it. Right now, many kids use ChatGPT for a lot of stuff. Even 6-year-old, 10-year-old are using it. But what do we coach them? How do we make sure that we teach them what is right? What are the boundaries? I think there should be a separate learning within the school system itself to teach them how do they correctly use. And even in the even at home, we need to teach them what is the boundaries for them, and so that when they interact with AI, how do they interact with it? And if it is any product, if it is Supra, it is very much friendly. But if it is not Supra, if it is not kids specific, then it should be very much restricted to not utilizing, not allowing to talk to children. But I would say talking not specific to Supra, I think mentioning it, being very open and clear about whether it is AI or not is what I would say.
I'm really heartened. I mean, you're taking on a ethically challenging space. It's also hugely valuable to people, and especially in creating communication, open communication, keeping it going. But it's also a very ethically challenging environment. I love hearing how clear you are on some of the controls and being transparent about who you're talking to and how you're talking to it. It makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, and I think to some degree you just answered it, but I'm curious, as you think about the broader public and the skills we need to incorporate to interact with AI and work with AI on a regular basis, agents or whatever we term it in the future. I'm not convinced these terms are going to stick around. But what kind of skills do you think people need to really develop and really focus on to be ready for that next world?
Very good question. I think creative skills.
Nice.
We humans are the ones who are creative. I think creative skills is something that AI cannot do it. It cannot really be creative in doing new things. I think those are the things that I would say that we need to build. Sometimes when I wanted to write, I just put down my computer and start writing it because I don't want to lose my creative side. That is something that I also tell my kids, because once you use AI to start writing it, so the power of me thinking through on what I wanted to write would completely go away. That's one thing. And the one is, I think, being up to date with some of the new technologies and trying to learn and making sure that we are also not getting scared with what AI is, because AI is not going to take our jobs. But I think it will enhance and create new jobs, just like how the Industrial Revolution has created new types of jobs in the past. We'll have new types of jobs where we'll have new skill sets. I think we have to wait and see what those new skill sets would be. But definitely, I am super excited where the AI is taking us. And I think we'll all have a time where we'll have our personas going for work for us. And we all will be enjoying sitting and having some drinks, and our personas will be working for us, where it'll be earning and we'll having fun. So
And
that's where
hopefully
I
being
see it.
creative.
Yeah, yep.
We can express our creativity.
Creativity
Absolutely.
to train our AI personas. So
And,
how creatively you'll train it and how creatively you'll tell them to work for you, right?
yeah. And also, I mean, in the end, that may very well be part of what distinguishes different people. Like, many folks might have an agent that does X, but how creatively did you come up with the solution for X?
That's
And
right.
how did you decide to interact back and forth? Love it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, Pravena, thank you so much for the conversation today. Really enjoyed it.
Same here. Wonderful. Thank you.